Okay guys, welcome to DTTV with Sim. Today we're looking at putting together a model of component parts in an assembly. So what we'll do is we'll look at opening a variety of component parts. I'm going to go to New and I'm going to look at an assembly. Now this looks very similar to the standard drawing template sheet you've seen and used before. We can add component parts. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to browse and I'm going to find the appropriate folder. So where you need to go is you need to go into your shared drive, and in your shared drive you need to look for CAD. In CAD you've got SolidWorks and then Legoman, and there's all the component parts that you need saved in that file. The first part that we obviously need to choose here is going to be the body, so I'm going to select the body and open it up. You then can click where you want it, so it's free float, and I'm going to pop it in, and I'm going to zoom out. Now this is the main section of our product. Within SolidWorks, when you're making an assembly, the items either are fixed or they're floating, and one of the ways that you can check that is to right click, and as you can see that this currently says float. What that means is that the part is currently fixed, it's always in the opposite state. That's very useful in terms of the fact that if I want other components to move around this central core, then they'll do so. If this one was floating, then when I come to move components using the move component tool, what will happen is that everything will move and float around the screen, which will make my life slightly difficult. So first thing to do, right click on your component and check that your option here says float. If it says fix, click that so that it then says float, so it's in the opposite state. At this stage, this is my first component part, and I'm actually looking at straight away completing a technical drawing for this. So I'm going to open up my template. You should have your Lego template saved somewhere. When I open that up, the first thing to do is to actually modify our screen. I'm going to modify my text. I'm going to right click, go to edit sheet format. You'll have all done this before, and I'm just going to type in Lego body. I can check the other materials are all correct. The scale should automatically change. I'm going to right click, edit sheet, zoom back out. What I'm going to do here is going to click on the view palette tool. In the view palette tool I've got my Lego one. Part of the reason for that, or the exact reason for that, is the fact that currently my assembly is not saved. So the first thing that you need to do is to save your assembly, and I'm going to save mine as Legoman and click save. Having done that, I can then minimize this and go back to my template, and you'll see that in here I then have other options including Legoman. So click on Legoman. If this doesn't pre-populate straight away, then use the refresh button here. Choosing my views, I'm going to go for the front view, drop that one in. This view's a little bit small. Remember, this is the parent, so what I'm going to do is I'll come back to that in a second and make it larger. Set my views out in our standard L-shaped pattern. Click on this. I want hidden detail because that's important for us here, and I am then going to use my own scale. So let's have a look at 1 to 1. Way too small. Let's go 1 to 5. Way too small. Let's go the opposite way then. So 2 to 1. 5 to 1. 5 to 1 actually works quite nicely for this stage of the product, but I'm going to be adding lots of extra component parts, and I know I am, so I'm actually going to reduce that to 2 to 1. I clicked on one single view there, so let's go up to 2 to 1 to 2. As this is you'll notice that when I change this one, only this view changes. When I choose this one, the whole lot changes because this is the parent, these are the children. Green tick that, back to my view palette, and then I'm going to add in my isometric view. The isometric view I'm going to make rendered, and I'm going to green tick that. Now for this particular exercise, we don't actually need to have any dimensions in this, so at this stage you should save your sheet. Legoman. And you should now print this off, because what's going to happen is as you add component parts, it will update on this screen. So, minimizing that, back to my assembly. So this is where we're now going to start adding in more component parts and putting the whole thing together. I can use the insert component. I'm going to go back to browse, and I'm going to find in my shared drive, find the component parts. For this to work effectively for you, you will need to take all these parts prior to this tutorial as it stated at the beginning. and save these into your area to make them work. This needs to be done prior to taking on the tutorial, so make sure that's already happened. I'm now going to add in the head. So the head revolve, open it up, and I can drop it in. So we're now going to use the mate component tool. Mate. The first thing to do is identify elements that you can mate. I can mate this cylinder to this cylinder, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll over it. You'll notice that when I do this, I don't use an edge. I use an actual face. You can use edges, but they're a little bit more tricky and a little bit more temperamental. Having clicked one, I'm going to click the opposite, and you'll notice the parts then sit together. At this stage, I could use the move component tool and I could slide it up and down, but you'll notice I can't move it in any other direction, although I can spin the face around. I'll move the face to the front, green tick that, onto my mate tool, and this is where you're going to have to be a little bit more careful in terms of zooming in and making sure you're selecting the right faces. Bottom of the head, top of the shoulders, and it pops it together like that. Now I want to check that this is in the right place. I'm going to use my section view tool here, so you should do the same, and just drag this through, and what you'll find is when you drag through, you can see there is a very small gap where the two sit together because it's a friction fit. I don't need to see any more than that. I can see there's a gap, there's no overlaps or anything like that, so I'm going to break across that. Now if I now click save, minimize, open up my technical drawing, you can now see that we've now got the head on the body, and this is your second stage. So we need to change the name of the sheet, so edit sheet format, and what we're going to do is we're going to say Legoman 2, right click on the sheet, edit sheet, and at this stage you should then print off again. So you should now have two drawings. My suggestion is that at this stage you make sure that you take them to your tutor, who will then make sure that you're actually doing this correctly and there aren't any sort of minor mistakes. Otherwise what will happen is you'll continue making those mistakes and then it'll all be wrong. And as there's 6 parts of this, you don't want to have to print all those out over and over again. I'm going to minimize that. Back to Legoman, and I'm going to insert some more components. So back to browse, and what we're going to do here is we're going to look at the leg hanger. Okay, so it's floating around, drop it into space. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to mate the top face to the bottom face here and green tick it. If I was now to then mate the front face to this front edge, the two will slide together, but you'll also notice that along this back edge we've actually stepped in. I'm going to have to do a distance mate to get this one correct because of the fact that the flat panel here is actually smaller than the bottom of the Legoman body. So I am going to red cross that because I don't want to do that mate. Within this, if you make any mistakes, you can click on the plus here and you can change your mates, and you can also view your mates from here. I am now going to look at doing this front edge to here as a mate. But instead of using a face mate, I'm going to actually use a distance mate. I'm going to click on the distance. Now I know that the mate here should be 0.05, so you need to enter those in. Clicking anywhere on the screen allows it then to update. And if we look at this, you'll notice that it's actually gone the wrong way. So we've got quite a gap on this side and an overlap on this side. What I can do is I can click flip direction, and it then shimmies it across, and we're in the right place. I'm going to green tick that. I'm now going to do the same style of mate, so mate from this end onto the edge here. Again, it links the two so they're completely flat and flush, but you'll notice there's a large overlap here. We're going to use another distance mate here, and this one is going to be 0.42. So clicking on that, and you'll notice it's now equidistant either side. Green tick it, and we now have the next step. Once again, save it, minimize it, go back to your technical drawing, got the hanger in place, right click on the sheet, edit sheet format. Let's be imaginative and go for Legoman 3. Right click, edit sheet, and then we'll go and print this one off again. Next step. Before before we move on further, we need to check that this is completely in the right place. And one of the ways you can do that as you go through this is to use the Evaluate tab. I'm going to click on the Evaluate tab and I'm looking for the interference detection. The whole idea of this is that we can see problems and component aspects which actually want to occupy the same space. So click on interference detection, and then I'm looking at this, click calculate. We get a ringing noise and it starts to show us. Now we have 4 interferences, but what you'll notice is that each of them are exactly the same. That's because in the model underneath, the component parts within the body, so if I just hide that for a moment, these components parts in the body here are actually designed to be flexible and move. They create an interference fit, which means that the leg hanger means that it sits very tightly into the bottom and stops the Legoman from falling apart. Obviously I can't see my part here, I'm just going to go back to this here, so it's the same as it would be if you were manufacturing the part out as single components. I can right click on there, I can show component and bring it back. Okay, at this stage we're now going to add both the legs, so back to our assembly, insert components, browse, let's go for the left leg, click open, bring it on, go for a mate, so we're going to use the cylinder there, and it's a concentric mate because it's 2 circles going together, so another circle there, pings it around, green ticket. At that stage we're then going to then mate this face to here. We've got those in place, and you can see how the part is then mated in place. Green ticket. We'll then insert the second leg, insert components, browse. Okay, what I've just done, just brought in the same leg again. We've got a list of the component parts here. It's very easy to remove. Right click, delete, say yes. So into my insert components, browse, pick the leg, drop it in. So I'm using my mouse to zoom in, make sure I'm picking the correct faces, etc, etc. I'm going to show you that you can use an edge sometimes on this too. So I can make this edge and I could make that to this edge, which automatically drops it in place. Sometimes edge mates can be quite useful. Now I can, if I choose, move component parts, see what they look like, make sure they're in the right planes. Whatever you do here will then affect obviously your technical drawing. So I'll minimise this sheet and go back to my presentation drawing, and as you can see, I've got Legoman now stood. Now when you're looking at this adds confusion to the drawing because things are not actually level or straight. So I'm going to nip back in here and I want these to be straight. So what I can do, first of all, I can make that one to that one, which is fine. Equally, I can make an edge down here to another straight edge somewhere on here. What that does is it means that the two are parallel, green ticket, and now Legoman is stood up straight, which when then we come to look at it in our technical drawing, means that it's nice and easy to read. So same as again, edit sheet, 4, and this should be printed off again. We're now going to insert the arms. So there's 1 and 2. For this one, I'm going to make this circle to our inner circle here. And I'm then going to mate this flat face to the flat face here. Green tick. Going to move it around so it's in the right, pretty much the right position. Happy with that. Another mate. Green tick. That face. to our flat face here. Rotate that. And then we have him with his arms. Green tick, minimise, back to our technical drawing. As you can see, the arms are placed. Right click, edit sheet. Change the name to 5. At this stage, we're now ready to put in the final steps, which are his arms. His hands. Insert components, browse, find the hands. Both the hands are the same, so we can open it up. Zoom in, and we'll mate this one to the inside of there. Right, this one very usefully is mated round the wrong way, and you'll find that quite often when you mate stuff that flicks around the wrong direction. The button here, we've got mate alignment, and whichever button is not depressed, so when you can press, click that around, and it flicks it around so it's in the right place. Now I've got a very small edge in here that I need to get to. So to make my life easy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the component. I'm actually going to drag his arm out, and then I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to mate inside edge here to the face there. Green ticket. Okay, now again, what we've got here is we've got an aspect where the hand is actually rotated. So what I want to do is I want to make that flat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do here is I'm now going to mate the top surface of the hand to the top of the body, which flips it around. Now if I leave that where it is, it means that I'm actually going to have a lot of trouble in moving the arm because it's fixed, because it's over-defined. What I can do, however, is look for the mate, and you'll notice that we've got the two sides. Right click here and delete it. Having deleted that, it doesn't mean that any of these components move, as in they don't move when you delete them, but it will now mean that I can then continue to play with it, or I can then move the arm and it will stay in the same orientation. So I'll now insert the other hand. Same mate process. I'm going to mate top surface of that to the top surface of that, so it's parallel. Green tick. One Legoman. Minimise it. And then you've got your options here. Again, final edit sheet. And then you print that off. That will then give you your 6 different images. The next tutorial will look at then adding colour and rendering it, which will then allow you then to do photorealistic images rather than just the grey options you see here, although that's not necessary for the particular sheets you're printing off. Okay, thanks for watching DTTV.